So I have a story to tell you. My friend Karen traded her 3-row SUV in for a 2-row because she was done with carting other people's kids around. But the car that she traded for was too small. It didn't have room for the hockey bags and the sports equipment that she needed, plus the dogs. Sound familiar? Well, she wishes she had known about this. This is the Mazda CX-70. Be sure to subscribe right here, follow along on social media. If you see a video suggestion pop up here, that's because we picked it just for you. And then go over to A Girl's Guide to Cars. Check out all of our reviews, all of our stories, a lot more information at agirlsguidetocars.com. The Mazda CX-70 gives you all the advantage of a 3-row SUV without the 3rd row. So it's brand new from Mazda. It's their first ever entree into the full-size or large 2-row 5-passenger SUV category. And rather than reinventing the wheel, they basically just built it on the same platform using a lot of the same features as the Mazda CX-90. And they added a few things. So there's some things you're going to find on the Mazda CX-70 that you don't have on the Mazda CX-90. But the good news is, everything that you love in the Mazda CX-90, except for that 3rd row, is available right here on the Mazda CX-70. Some of the details that you'll notice right away: this is an inline 6, meaning it is a 6-cylinder turbo. We are driving the Turbo S model, which also has a gloss black front grille, mesh grille, so you can see that really beautiful mesh detail. And it's the very classic Mazda front end. It has daytime running lights and headlights here, lower air vents there. Look at these really beautiful wheels. Mazda does a beautiful job of design, and the wheels are no exception. On the rear end, you'll notice there's the Mazda badge right there front and center, not following the trend of other manufacturers spelling the name out. You'll see the CX-70 here. And then over on this side, you'll see something that's kind of new. If you're a Mazda fan, check this out. eSky Active G. So this eSky Active is Mazda's mild hybrid, that they use a hybrid system, but a very mild one for better fuel economy. So we've spent a lot of the day driving around in this guy. This is the plug-in electric hybrid, a little different from the car that I drove yesterday, which was the Turbo S. So this has 323 horsepower versus the 340 in the Turbo S and 280 in the Turbo. And I was able to drive almost 40 miles on all electric. Now, we did have some gas and electric mixing in there today because I stopped and started. I stopped and got a coffee, and when I got back in the car and restarted it, it went back into normal mode, not EV mode. So that's something, if you really want to drive all electric, you do have to keep an eye on. But I want to show you a couple of things about the electric powertrain here. And then I also want to show you the really interesting, much larger cargo area, which is what you get instead of a 3rd row in the Mazda CX-70. So here's the magic of not having a 3rd row in the Mazda CX-70, and that is cargo space. So Mazda not only eliminated the 3rd row to give you this large, very large contiguous cargo space. That's not so easy to say sometimes, but there's also a hidden cargo capacity underneath this floor. So in total, it's almost 40 cubic feet of cargo space. That's really large. Think about a comfortable bed for a husky or two. Think about hockey bags. This is going to be a good one for hockey bags. Under the cargo floor here, Mazda has stowed the level 1, sorry, this is level 1. This is your level 1 charger. This is your charge cord. So this is going to go into a regular household outlet. And this is really for emergencies or for travel. When you go someplace and you don't have a level 2 charger to charge with, you can pull this out and use this for charging your Mazda CX-70 plug-in hybrid. But there is another secret under here, and that is this cargo floor completely comes out, or I can just leave it here to stow things. And I'm going to show you what this looks like underneath the cargo floor. So you can see there's this really nice large cargo bin here, and then even an additional cargo bin here. Mazda makes a organizer that you can put in here that'll give you even a little more organization space, but I'm not sure you need it. I feel like this bin is really nicely done. It's maybe some sort of composite foam. It's kind of soft and squishy. I thought it would be not soft and squishy, but it really covers the components that are underneath here, probably the battery and some other things. And then the cargo floor just pushes right back into place over there. And then here is this storage bin where we have the charge cord, there's a tire kit. And the good news is there actually is a spare tire right under here as well. This whole bin can remove. And there you have your spare tire. Mazda has packed a lot of details and a lot of features into this space. You can see that cargo bin is open and accessible there, with the cargo floor pushed all the way up there. It's kind of nice that Mazda has really thought about the organization of this space and configured it so you've got the things that you need, you've got additional space for whatever you'd like to carry with you. I always think of like blankets, sunscreen, and things like that for that emergency trip to the beach, or maybe an impromptu picnic or pickup basketball game or something like that, where you don't want to have to run home, but you've got your blankets, you've got your sunscreen, you've got the things that you need. And then you have this cargo floor that just nicely folds down and gives you that contiguous 40 cubic feet of cargo space. So you've got lots of room for whatever it is you need ready access to all the time. Another feature that they've added here are fold down seats. So you can push a button, and I don't know if this is a premium feature edition, but option. I will definitely note that in my review. But there is a 1500 watt outlet here. So you could plug in something quite large, an air compressor or something quite powerful right here with 1500 watts. And then we have the power buttons to fold the seats. You can see they don't go completely flat, but they go pretty flat. And if you're bringing things home from, say, Home Depot or a small piece of furniture, a rug, something like that, these fold-down seats are going to be very, very convenient. So what do you get in the Mazda CX-70, and what is different than the Mazda CX-90? Well, let's take a poke around the inside and check it out. So I will say it is about 95 degrees out today where we are in California. So I'm going to turn on the air conditioner. And there you go. The Mazda CX-70 comes to life. You get a really beautiful driver's display here. You get a really nice multimedia screen here. It is not a touch screen. And I'll tell you why it's not a touch screen, because look at that. I can't reach it. And that means that it should be dial controlled. And that is really the designer's intention, to keep you safe by keeping your view here so you don't have to refocus on a closer screen and then again refocus on the road. The whole idea here is to keep your view clear and on the road at all times. And Mazda does a nice job of that. They decided not to reinvent the wheel. In fact, they have been consistent with the screen and the dial controller setup for more than a decade. And it's pretty impressive. Once you get used to using it, it becomes second nature. So what else do you get in the cabin of the Mazda CX-70? Well, let's just start with this beautiful interior. So a dual tone leather steering wheel, micro suede here. We'll find different materials and different interior trims, but ours has this really beautiful sort of camel color, micro suede and soft touch, and then leather. And in fact, the seats have micro suede here in the center and leather trim on the outside, on the headrest and the bolsters and the shoulder area. And it really is a beautiful, elegant detail. Here in the center console, there is a phone charge pad right there, 2 cup holders here, and they're big. They fit, they're good. They're good size. They're perfectly sized for this. They have little grips inside so you can put something a little bit larger. There actually are, you see me putting my bottle down there, there are bottle pockets in all the doors, which is incredibly handy. They have redesigned this gear selector, so it's designed to really fit in the palm of your hand, and then you pull it over and forward for reverse and back for drive, and then over to the left for park. And up in front, there is the My Drive dial. This is where your drive modes live. There's also downhill descent control. There is a surround view camera, so I can see everything on the camera there. And then over here is my media command center. So I have my iDrive dial here, and then I have navigation, music, home, and back, so I can go back to my last setting, parking and auto hold, and then I have star, there's a star button here so you can set your favorites, and a radio volume dial, which is right here. It's also right here on the left side of the steering wheel. Now Mazda does things their own way. Some manufacturers like to put all the driver assistance features here on the left, say adaptive cruise and things like that. Mazda has it right over here on the right, and there's a really nice adaptive cruise setup. We're going to take that out on the highway and I'll show you what that looks like. And then we have this paddle shifters. So we are able to shift manually by pulling this paddle shifter, and for upshift and this one for downshift. We'll use that as well out on the road. You really want to put it into sport mode when you're going to use the paddle shifters. Another thing you'll appreciate, especially if you're one of those who is fatigued by screens, and a lot of us are, is the screens in this car are not overwhelming. There is the driver display, there is the multimedia display here, and then there is a panel with air conditioning controls, and you'll be able to see a tiny screen here that displays that information, but it's not an overwhelming array of screens. In fact, it's very classic Mazda. If you have fallen in love with, say, a Mazda CX-9 or a Mazda CX-5, or you really like the Mazda CX-90 and you're not sure if the 50 is the right way to go, this is all going to feel really familiar, really comfortable. You'll also find a nice little small control panel here with lights, and then the control for the panoramic sunroof. And I can actually open it and close it and vent it. The way this functions, it's a single button, but it's very intuitive. They're not always, but this one is pretty intuitive, and I like that. A few other things I'll show you here. We have our air vents here, and then here on either side. Really great for front seat passengers. The start-stop button is right here. Our emergency flashers are right there. And over here on the left side is where you'll find your drive assist and safety features, which you can turn on or off. And then and you can actually turn on or off just the sound if you want. Parking, sensors, the TCF. Traction control system, you can turn that on or off. And then we have our memory seats over here as well. So over here, there is a button you can turn on or off the volume for the driver assist systems. But how do you actually turn on or off the driver assist systems? Well, you go to your multimedia screen here, and then you scroll down to settings. And once you click settings, you actually can click safety settings. And within safety settings, you have driver assistance, and this is where you're going to find all of those settings. So you can set up your specifics on cruise control. That's the adaptive cruise control, speed limit, sign reader. You could set for an audible confirmation when cruise control is on, speed limit sign recognition. You can set up speed limit sign threshold to allow you to get notifications when you're going faster than the posted speed limit. And then you can actually restore the factory settings as well. If you go back, there are some additional safety settings. You can set up safety alerts, collision avoidance. You can change the settings on that for more robust or more passive. You can even set up a pedal misuse alert. And then if you go back even further, there are vehicle settings. And in the vehicle settings, you can set up your manual shift mode here. You can configure how you want the doors to lock or unlock when you tap the key fob unlock button. You can customize your interior and exterior lighting, turn signals, rear occupant alert, and then driving position. And this system will configure the ideal driving position for you based on your eyes, and it will, there's this camera right here. You see that circle? There's that camera right there that monitors the driver, and you'll be able to use that plus some other measures that the car has in place, and it will actually customize the seat for your optimal drive position. That's a feature that I think is really cool in the Mazda CX-70. So what do you get in the second row, or the center, the rear seat of the Mazda CX-70? There's not a third row, so this is it for passenger seating, but it's pretty nice. So there is a fold down armrest here, which has cup holders in it, and it's covered in leather, and it's beautiful. There is a nice, this is a 60/40 fold, so this part folds down, or if you need this space, or if you just need a little extra space here, you can fold this side down. There's a nice console here that has air vents, 2 USB ports, there's 4 in total, and then there are fan speed, temperature control, and heated seats. We are in the Turbo S Premium, so there are heated seats. There is a transmission tunnel here, so a little bit of a hump in the floor, but it's not round, it's flat on top, so you could put a backpack, or you could put a handbag or something there if you wanted to, or if you did have a middle passenger, there is actually a space for feet, which is kind of a nice thing. Our model does have these sunshades, which we have found very helpful on this really hot day, and if you've got kids in car seats, you're going to appreciate that. And then I'm going to show you this, because this is really cool. If you have kids in car seats and you don't want that 3-row SUV, you still have seats on rails. So you could put a baby here, and let's see how close I can get it. I can't really get it that far. But if you were to put a baby here, you could pull that baby a little bit closer to the driver's seat, which is really nice. You can put that big kid back a little further. And then we also have reclining seats that recline somewhat, not a lot, but enough for someone who wants to take a nap, which is pretty nice. Another nice feature is the panoramic sunroof extends over the rear seat. So rear seat passengers, who one of you are going to get a view, and it makes the whole cabin feel really lovely and open and luxurious. But how well are kids' car seats going to fit in the Mazda CX-70? Well, I'm glad you asked. I brought my tape measure. So this is a 5-passenger SUV, but it's large. In fact, it's the same size as the Mazda CX-90. So 3 car seats will fit in the center row in the CX-90, 3 car seats will fit in the rear seat of the CX-70. But how much space do you have? So this seat is pushed all the way back. Now I don't have it reclined, but seat back to seat back, we have about 32 inches, maybe almost 33 inches. So I'll show you 32.5 right there. That's what we have. And then how wide are these seats? So let me measure the width of the seat. So the center seat from seatbelt to seatbelt is about 12 inches. And then the outboard seats are about 19 inches wide. And then let's look at the depth as well, because that matters too. So we have, from the latches to the edge of the seat, we have about 17 inches. So enough space for a child passenger car seat to fit very comfortably. With that 32 inches, 32.5 inches, this is set for me and I'm 5'8", you have plenty of room for a rear-facing child passenger car seat. If you're 5'8" or 5'10", something like that, you'll be very comfortable, and so will your child. If you have a driver who's taller than that, you probably want to put your rear-facing car seat over here on the passenger side. But the good news is you can fit 2 You might even be able to fit 3 in the Mazda CX-70. We are in the plug-in electric hybrid. So I'm gonna drive in all electric. I'll show you what that looks like, what it looks like driving in hybrid, what our fuel economy and what our electric range are. The great thing about Mazda's powertrains is they give you the choice of picking how you wanna drive, gas, electric, or hybrid. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my drive mode. They call it My Drive. And I'm going to change it down here to EV. Now in EV mode, you can see I've got my electric charge over here, and I've got my fuel gauge over here. So I've got a full tank of gas and a full charge of the electric battery. Over here, you can see this needle will move when I'm charging the battery, it'll be low. When I'm using the battery, it'll be in this range. And when I'm using gas, it'll be up there. So let's start driving. We've got a nice day ahead of us out here in the roads and highways of Palm Springs, California, Coachella Valley. And let's go out and see what it's like driving the Mazda CX-70 in EV mode. I can see a few things here on my driver display. So I've got this little info button here. I can get quick information. You can see over here I'm getting 0 mpg and 0 miles per kilowatt hour because I reset the system. So I can go over here to my multimedia system and I'm gonna go up to information. And this shows me I can look at my vehicle status. I can go to my high voltage battery monitor, and this will show me my charge level, and this will show me my total range. Gas plus electric is 280 miles and EV range is 39 miles. So I've got 1353 on my odometer. It says I've got 39 miles of battery range. So let's check it out and see how it does. So as with every test drive, I had to stop at Starbucks and get a coffee. So now it's time to get back into the Mazda CX-70 and see how we've done so far on our driving on all electric. So let's get into the car. And I want to show you what it looks like. It does. I have the key fob in my pocket. So let's look and see what it looks like when you get into the car and when you start it. So I'm going to hit the power button here. And here she goes. So quiet. So you can see here on our charge meter, we've driven 17 miles. So you can see 1370 there. We started at 1353 and we have used about half, slightly less than half. So according to our original estimate of 39 miles, let's see how we're doing over here on our multimedia system. So I'm going to go to information and I'm going to go to high voltage battery monitor, and it shows I have 19 miles left. So that information dovetails okay. As we know, battery range can fluctuate based on acceleration, air conditioning, and other things. And so this is saying that I should get about 40 miles. I think it said 39 at the beginning. We've driven 17. All right, let's keep on our journey and see how we do. So now we're going to head up on the Palms to Pines Highway. This is a really beautiful, fun, twisty road. I'm still in EV mode, but I'm actually going to change into sport because I want to have a little more fun on the road driving the Mazda CX-70. So I put it in sport mode. Now it's not going to hold the charge. You can see here we had 280 miles. Now it says 250. We have driven about 30 miles this morning. It says I've got 5 more miles left on my battery range. Now some of those miles were in hybrid and some of them were in pure, most of them were in pure electric, but some were in hybrid. So now we're in sport mode. We're going to enjoy a little driving on the Palms to Pines Highway here in Southern California and listen to the engine. Okay, so it's got quite a lot of pep. It's a little loud, but it's in sport mode, and that's what you expect. I can feel the power of the engine throwing me back in my seat a little bit. 323 horsepower in this model. Because we're in the plug-in hybrid. Slightly less power than the turbo S, which if you really want all the power, that's the one to get. But 323, even for an SUV this size, is not bad, and it's a little fun to drive, I have to say. The crazy thing is, look at this highway, and the speed limit is 55 on this highway, so I think that's a little high. I'm more comfortable driving in the 40s, but even at 40, I'm going 40 miles an hour, accelerating up these, up the hills and around the curves. It's pretty easy, it's pretty confident, and it feels really nice. I can hear it downshifting, and that's the nice thing about a plug-in hybrid. That is probably my favorite powertrain, because you get the best of both worlds. You get all electric when you want it, and driving around through town and getting into the going to the shopping center and getting a Starbucks, going to the grocery store, that kind of thing. The electric power is great, and the opportunity to not have to get gas is even better. But on a road like this, to be able to go wherever you want, head out into the desert, head out, on a long road trip, say maybe drive to the Grand Canyon, you don't want to depend just on electric power, because that will eat up a lot of your planning time in theory. And so maybe just being able to stop when you want and get some gas is really the way to go. So one of the things that I really like is to be able to touch this button and be able to control navigation or cabin temperature or set the radio station. What you can't do is voice activation in Mazda with a Mazda built-in system, but you do have Alexa voice activation. Hey Alexa. So you can see this bar right here on the screen gives us that. Alexa will only do Alexa things that you've already set up on your account. So if you have a playlist there, if you have other things that you can do with Alexa, add something to the shopping list or things like that, that you can absolutely do. It is programmed in here in the system, but it's not a voice activated assistant. It's not going to change the cabin temperature or set the radio station for you or navigation, but it can probably answer some questions. Hey Alexa, what's the temperature in Los Angeles today?
Right now, in Los Angeles, California, it's 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, expect a high of 72 degrees.
So the system can do those sorts of things. It can probably help you with math homework. Hey Alexa, what is 598 times 48?
598 times 48 is 28,704.
So it's a great system for things like homework help or to settle a debate in the car on a road trip, things like that. But it's not going to be able to manage any of the hardwired systems in your car. Although some functions may work without an account. And to play your playlists or other things, you're probably going to need your Amazon Prime music setup, which if you have Amazon Prime is free, which is nice. And you can also plug in Apple CarPlay and play anything on your Apple Music, Spotify, and or Pandora, any of the music apps that are on there. Additionally, the Mazda comes wired or comes set up with SiriusXM. So if you want to tune into a SiriusXM station, you can do that, but you're going to have to use the system that's in the car, that when you tap the little music note on the center console here, you'll go to that and you'll be able to choose SiriusXM, AM, or FM radio. So it's a nice system and gives you a lot of options. You have your app, you have whatever's in your phone that you can port to the system via Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have the built-in SiriusXM and radio frequencies, and then you can use Amazon. I'm not going to say her name because I don't need her help right now. And that's also a really nice option for music, for cloud-based information, and other features, even navigation. Now we're going to head out on the highway, and I'm going to use Mazda's assisted driving system. So it's not just adaptive cruise, and this is something that we see more and more of in more cars. It's also not hands-free. So you do have to keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road, but this will allow you to use the system to do a lot of the driving for you, to kind of take a lot of the stress out of highway driving. Now that we're on the highway, I can use the adaptive cruise system. I'm going to get into the lane I want to be in, and then get up to the speed I want to be, and then I'm going to tap this button here, and that shows that it's on, and this one shows that my lane keep assist and all my driver features are on. And then I'm going to turn on and set. So I've turned it on. Now I'm going to set my system at the speed that I want. Now, it's not hands-free. I'm not really supposed to take my hands off the wheel, but I can see there is a green wheel here. There is a adaptive cruise indicator here. I can see all these features active in the head-up display as well. Now, I'm not going as fast as I might be able to because I'm behind a slow truck, but if I will change lanes when it's safe to do so, now it's going to speed me up to the speed that I've set it, which is, the speed limit is 70, I've set it for 74, so a little bit faster than the speed on this road, and that allows me to drive. Gives me a little freedom. If I get behind a slow car, it will slow me down. If I want to go a little faster, I can just tap the accelerator and go faster. And then when I take my foot off the accelerator, it will drop back down to the speed that I set for adaptive cruise, which I've had it set at 74. So it's a really nice system. This is how adaptive cruise works. This is sort of level 2 autonomous driving, meaning that the car can do a lot of these functions itself, but the driver has to be attentive and pay attention to what's going on in the car. There are cameras looking at me, and if I become unresponsive, the system will shut off. The car will safely pull over to the side of the road. It will come to a stop. It will put on the emergency flashers, and it will notify 911. I've not tried this out, but I know that these cars are equipped to do that. In fact, most cars with this equipment will do that, which is a great thing. That means if something happens to me, or I decide that I just can't break myself away from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to actually look at the road, the car will stop. And that is a great thing for everybody on the road. This is why you have to pay attention, because this truck pulled right in front of me. When they all saw the highway patrol pulled over on the side of the road, they all pulled over into my lane. That was the right thing for them to do. You are supposed to pull over into the out of the lane of travel that you're in. If you see a highway patrol or any police officer or law enforcement stopped on the side of the road, you're supposed to do that. That is the law in many states, and I think it must be the law in California. And that's actually a really good rule. Another reason why you need to be in control, because the system, as good as it is not going to react as quickly if someone pulls in front of you as you will if you're monitoring everything around you. The machines are smart, the humans are always smarter. Now, I can go back to what I was doing by just tapping this button down, and this allows me to once again sit back, relax, and enjoy the beautiful desert vistas while I drive the Mazda CX-70. We've been using the controller dial here on the center console in the Mazda CX-70 throughout this drive, and I really like it because it is very intuitive. It becomes second nature. So you just dial for what you want, and if you have Apple CarPlay plugged in, if you've got your phone plugged in, you just pull the dial back and it goes right into CarPlay. If you want to get out of CarPlay, go to this Mazda icon here, tap it, and you go back to the Mazda screen. So if you want to use in-car navigation, you can do that. All you have to do is tap that Mazda icon and go right back to navigation. Now, I don't need to if I've got head-up display. One of the things I love about their head-up display system is I have head-up display. Once I put navigation into this built-in navigation system, I get it in the head-up display. So I can have my Apple CarPlay, my music, if I wanted to look at a different map, if say I wanted to tap on navigation to something else. So I have my main navigation where I'm going, but maybe a side stop here. I can easily do that. And then I can also listen to a podcast or a playlist from my Spotify. So I can toggle back and forth between the Mazda screens and Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And that's a pretty nice feature. So there's another thing that I want to show you, and that is this HD camera. I really like the HD surround view camera on this version of the Mazda CX-70. Now remember, this is typically a 3-row SUV in the CX-90. That's how this was built and designed. They took out the 3rd row, gave you extra cargo space for the CX-70, but it's still a pretty big SUV. Here's how Mazda handles that surround view camera for backing out of a tight parking spot. So I've got a pickup truck there, I've got a Mini Cooper over there, and it's kind of a tight parking spot. So let me show you how Mazda helps to guide me out of this spot. So I'm going to put it into reverse. So I just pop it over that way. And now I have this really nice surround view camera. Now I can hear, because I'm in EV mode, I can hear the little pedestrian warning making a beeping sound. And pardon me if my camera is unsteady because I am turning around and looking. I want to make sure that I clear the vehicles next to me to try to turn. I want you to look at how close my bumper is to the Ford. So it looks like I don't have any space between me and the Ford. You can actually see right there, I clear it quite nicely. And then you can see where I am in the corners. And this, for increasingly crowded parking lots, and I'm going to put it down into drive. For increasingly crowded parking lots and increasingly larger vehicles, whether they're yours or they're someone else's, this is a really great feature to have. And then notice it's really hard to see over the hood of the car. I have my seat set up pretty high, but I still have a big view of the hood. What that means is you can see here, I cannot see this stop marking on the pavement from here. This is sort of my eye view. You can see there's the head-up display. I can see that. I cannot see that stop mark on the pavement. And this visual actually shows you how much of the car is impeding my view. So really what I can see is where that yellow line is. I cannot see any of this, but I can look at the camera view and I can see all of that, and I can see everything that's around me over here. It's pretty nice. Mazda didn't just simplify the interior of the CX-70 versus the CX-90, they also simplified the trim lineup. So the CX-90 is available in 11 different trims. The CX-70 is available in 7. If you break that down a little bit further, it's even more simple. There is the Turbo, which has 3 different trims available, starting at about $40,000, $41,000, and it generates 280 horsepower. There is the Turbo S, which is what we're driving, generates 340 horsepower and has a top all-in price of about $56,000. And then there's 2 of those. There's the Premium and the Premium Plus. And then there is the plug-in electric hybrid. There are 2 versions of those, also a Premium and a Premium Plus, and it generates 323 horsepower. Now, the great thing about the plug-in electric hybrid, you can drive that about 26 miles on all electric before the hybrid engine kicks in. So if you want to drive around all day on electric, you can in the plug-in electric version of the Mazda CX-70. So let's talk about powertrains, because we've experienced 2 of the 3 powertrains in the Mazda CX-70, and it's actually something that's really important to know and worth considering if you're thinking about buying this car or any Mazda. So the plug-in hybrid has an electric battery, an electric motor, and it generates 323 horsepower, and that's a pretty straightforward number. The numbers that you'll see on the Turbo and the Turbo S, so 280 horsepower on the Turbo and 340 on the Turbo S, are calculated using premium fuel, which costs more money. In some places, it costs a lot more. In some other places, the difference is marginal. And the difference and horsepower is about 25. So if you think about putting regular fuel instead of premium into the Turbo S, you'll get about 315 horsepower. If you put regular fuel into the Turbo, you'll get about 255. It should not matter in the plug-in hybrid. I'm going to ask Mazda about that, and I'll leave a note below. It shouldn't matter because the plug-in hybrid is the plug-in hybrid. But the turbo models, to get that maximum horsepower as advertised, you do need premium fuel. If you use regular fuel, which is totally fine, not going to hurt your engine, you're not going to get quite the horsepower that is advertised. The charge capacity in the Mazda CX-70 is either level 1 or level 2. So level 1 is a standard household outlet. Level 2 is a 240 volt equivalent to the power that you need for a household clothing dryer. And you can install one of those in your garage. It's very easy. I have a whole video on that right here, so you can see on our YouTube channel what it's like to install that and how you use it. But the nice thing is, with a level 2, this is going to charge in about 2 hours. So say you go to lunch, or you go to the Whole Foods or someplace and there's a level 2 charger, you can actually charge this in about 2 hours. A standard outlet, a 110 volt, which is what you use for almost every household plug, is a 110. That's probably going to take overnight to replenish that 35 to 39 miles of charge. Over here on the passenger side rear corner is where we find the charging outlet. And let me show you what this looks like. This is a level 1 or level 2 charger. And what that means is you can charge it quickly at a level 2 or slowly at a level 1. And it has only this top portion available for charging. So just this portion available for charging. This charge port is intended for level 2 charging only, and that's because it's a smaller battery. It's a 17.8 kilowatt hour battery. A full EV and one that's capable of DC fast charging would be something more along the lines of a 60, 70, 80, or 90 kilowatt hour battery. This one is just under 18 kilowatt hours, which gives you the capacity for, depending on how you drive and how much air conditioning or heating you're using, somewhere between, say, 30 and 40 miles on all electric charge. Or you can use that battery power to assist the gas engine to get better fuel economy, which is probably your better use. That also means you probably want to keep this charged. So it's not a bad idea to monitor that charge meter inside the car and try to keep it full most of the time, so that you can use that battery power to assist the gas engine and get better fuel economy, or better driving dynamics, more power underfoot when you need it driving on fun, twisty highways like we just did in the California mountains.